In this video, we're going to make a couple of epoxy river tables using different types of wood. We have some red cedar that we drove back from Maryland and some hard rock maple from New Hampshire. The first step is to build a form that the slabs will fit in. Our friends that we're making these for had very specific sizes in mind. So those are the sizes we built the forms to. Before screwing the form together, put a bead of caulking on the edges to help seal it. And the form is actually perfectly rectangle. It just looks slightly curved in the seam because I attached the GoPro with my wide-angle lens on the ceiling of my workshop. And one more bead of caulking on the seams. You don't want any epoxy to leak through. Next, you cut the slabs down to be able to fit into the form. Now the hard maple, which gave my saw a run for its money, but we got the job done. The next step is to get all of the rot and bark off to make sure the epoxy sticks to solid wood. Make sure you clean both sides of the board. It will help determine which is the bottom and the top. Last thing to prepare the surface is I drag a file over all the edges that the epoxy will adhere to. The maple didn't have as much rot as the cedar, but it still had some bark and needed cleaning. To make sure the form doesn't stick to the epoxy, Brandon's putting a nice coat of wax on the inside. And then we'll level it, and then we'll be ready to mix the epoxy. This one just takes a few shims to make sure it's perfectly level. We're now ready to put the slabs in the form. To make the maple one a little bit more interesting, I added one of the pieces we cut off in the corner. I've generally had a lot of luck with liquid glass for these thick pour epoxies. It's a 2-to-1 resin to curing agent ratio. For the chemical reaction to occur, you want to make sure the resin and curing agent are thoroughly mixed. The directions say 5 minutes, but I usually do 8.
So we have 5.5 liters.
Yeah.
So we can put 2.75 liters in each one.
I usually do 2 colors per each table, so Brandon's dividing the batch. For the cedar table, Kelly and Steve have picked both a copper and gold pigment to be added to the epoxy.
Forgive me. Look at the bubbles rising to the top.
Yeah.
Love to see it. Love to see it. Okay, so I'm gonna go slow and tell you when to stop. Tell me when to stop.
Okay. Very unscientific. That sounds good.
Good.
The reason why
You can always add more.
yeah, you can
That's
always add
why.
more.
Say. Hey, this is gonna be a little less opaque. Do you want more? A little bit?
Well, that should be plenty.
We can always add more.
Yeah.
Alright, it might look really cool. This copper is very red.
Yeah.
See, I knew the copper was gonna be stronger.
Keep going.
But it also looks cool like that.
Yeah.
I like it.
A little more stirring, and we were ready for the pour.
Alright, where do you want it, Dad? Where should we start?
Here, like in different places. There's no.
You know what I'm gonna do gold over in this side, and in this corner I'm gonna do the
and then we can make it match. Yeah, and then we can sprinkle more in. That's why I'm glad we didn't.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Here, Dad, I'm gonna need a little more epoxy over here.
Yeah.
Save a little bit.
Yeah, we're gonna have
We're
to.
gonna have to add some.
Another. I will FaceTime Kelly when
when we're doing the
sprinkling it in.
when we're sprinkling it in and when we're doing the swirling of it of them together.
When you added more epoxy, Brandon wanted to add the clear epoxy and then add the pigment directly. I liked this idea because then you could swirl it in how you like it.
I just need to get it submerged here.
Yeah, you have to. That's why you have to stir a little bit more aggressively.
Yeah, there we go. I do think a couple of the flakes are cool at the top. I wish they didn't all have to get shaved off. So then this is when we're gonna. All right, yeah. I want to bring it over to the.
For the maple table, Brandon was now a good teacher, so his friend Nate came over to learn.
Or
Yeah, just keep track of it.
I'll keep track. Yeah, this is 2000.
Yeah.
Right here,
Right,
2000.
yeah, exactly.
Good enough to 2000.
Make black or canvas first.
it's thicker than the other stuff.
Yeah, as I say.
This is so this mixes with the other. The other one that we just poured in was a different material, and these two mix together. To here, put a little more in. See, wow. Just a little more. That's good. Did you set a time?
It was insane.
And slowly start pouring in the spots that it needs.
Right.
In the spots that are not up here. You know what I mean? We're gonna fill it up.
Okay.
We're gonna have to fill in the negative spots.
Got it. Just fill it up.
Just fill it up, my friend.
Alright.
And as you can see, it's literally going into there because of that crack there. It's making its way over there.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna sink a little bit into there because as you can see, it's gonna travel into there.
And yeah,
So
you can
start-
also.
you can just go over there. You don't have to wait for it to travel. You can worry
Oh
about
no.
it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah. Put it. Reach over
Yeah,
and put it
it's
on the
just
other
by the
side. Yeah.
Because you
You'll
have
get
to
there
put it
so-
over a little bit anyways in all
Yes.
these ruts.
Yeah.
But still, some of them are gonna fill into the bottom too. So we'll do them again. I think we're gonna barely have enough. That's enough.
Yeah. Good job.
For the maple table, Truda and Bob had selected a little purple and a lot of blue to add to the epoxy.
You want to do a little bit of the blue, Nate?
Yeah.
All right, so there it is. You can kind of like do areas where it's not, right? And then we're gonna mix it in together. Yeah, it does work well with your finger if you tap it.
Yeah.
You can get it more precise. And that blue's gorgeous.
That is a good blue.
Put a little in there, just a little. We can always put more in. Just a little more than that. All right, put a little over here, and then we'll try it. I see it. I'm gonna put a little over there. Go for it. Yeah, that's good. Once it's sat in there for a couple minutes, like the purple's already mixing way better
Right. Yeah.
than the blue. Then you also want to, it's like also you don't want to mix it completely in, and then because it's like you like the swirls, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So over mixing you can, but it's because there's iridescent in here, like stuff that's shiny, and that always keeps swirls, you know? Nice. And I always like to do these parts a little less because I love the natural beauty of the yeah, but we're gonna add more than that. Yeah.
That looks real good.
And then you can start to swirl them in together how you like it. Maybe you don't want to do it all the way because we're going to add a little bit more. So then we don't want to overmix it once we add more together. See stuff like this, in these little holes, I'm just putting in like a little bit.
Right.
Just by, wow, the pigment really does start to do a job once it dissolves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's already, that's enough pigment, honestly.
Yeah.
To me, hey, you want to bring some purple over there?
Yeah, it's okay.
You can always tap in a little more if we need it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna mix this in a little bit more. You like that? Alright, now we'll mix it in.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's art, bro. That looks really cool, Nate. That looks super cool. I think I've seen anything like that over there, so leave that. Yeah. Alright, that's good. Oh, that looks so cool.
Yeah. I know.
Doesn't that look so cool?
I know it's
Dad?
almost iridescent.
Yeah. It is iridescent.
Yeah.
It does have some.
And finally, after 3 days of curing, you can take the form off. Sometimes the sides come off easy, and sometimes they need a little persuasion. So I have this relatively dull chisel that you can insert between the form and the table, and that pries it apart.
Tap, tap, tap. We can structurally all over.
I think we did a better job waxing on this side than the other side.
Boom.
We must have missed some wax on this spot on the form.
Here.
And if you did a good job waxing, it should pry apart nicely. Next, we do the cedar table.
Here we go.
Good job.
Then you want to leave the bottom turned over so it can cure for another 3 days. Next, we're going to flatten the piece with a router and a sled, but first I put some blocks in place to keep it from moving around. I use a wide flattening bit in my router and put it in the router sled at the right depth. I only take off about 1/8 of an inch at a time. These shavings make a mess, and I always wear a mask. Usually takes a couple of passes to get it perfectly flat. Now flip it over and do the same to the other side. Okay, it's time for the rock maple one. And this wood is so hard, I actually went through 3 router bits to get it done. Next, I bring the pieces over to my table saw to trim the edges. The maple one barely fits in my router sled. Next, to save time in the sanding process, I bring the pieces down to my local cabinetry shop where they have a wide sander. This really helps get the marks of the router bit out much faster. Next, before the final sanding, I'll fill any micro bubbles or mini cracks with super glue. This type of glue has a similar consistency and chemistry as the epoxy. Now we use some coarser grits of sandpaper to sand the saw marks out of the edges. Then you can polish it with a lighter grit of sandpaper using the orbital sander. My go-to finish for these river tables is Odie's oil. It both adheres to the wood and the epoxy the same, and it's also non-toxic. This finish really makes the interesting patterns in the maple stand out. The manufacturer recommends that you let Odie's oil sit for an hour before wiping it off, but I have much better luck if I only let it sit for about a half hour and then take it off. Once the bottom's done, I turn it over and then do a nice fine sanding on the top. The grade coming out of the wide cabinet maker's sander was 120, so I'll repeat this again and then go to 180, 240, 320, 600, and 800. Between each grit, I drag a pencil over the top lightly. This way I can make sure the orbital sander is the entire surface. Once I've gone through all grits of sandpaper, I can now apply Odie's oil to the top. Again, after a half hour, you wipe all the Odie's oil off and get a nice smooth surface. Brandon did a great job putting just the right amount of pigment in this one, as the epoxy is translucent. Time to install some legs. I'm going to show you a couple of different types, and for this one, this is more of a modern curved leg. This is more of a beefy leg, but it will hold the weight of the maple table, which is significant. So I don't drill all the way through the top. I put a piece of tape on my drill bit the length of the screw. Time to finish up the cedar one for Kelly and Steve. The sanding discs have Velcro to stick to the orbital sander. It's really easy to change them in and out. And to make sure the Odie's oil penetrates the surface of the wood, I apply it with a 3M or Scotch-Brite pad. For the smaller cedar table, I used a lighter leg design. So that's it for these tables. I know Bob and Truda in New Hampshire enjoyed theirs, and Kelly and Steve in Maryland enjoyed theirs. The fun part is delivering them. Thanks so much for watching.